Привет, moi drugs, and welcome back to Swamp Dog Games. That was not what I originally scripted for this intro. I don't know why I did that, but anyway, welcome back everyone to Swamp Dog Games. I'm your host, DK, and today we're in for another RPG story time. So, as you can see over in this box over here, I went to SimCom 45 here in Rochester at the University of Rochester. It was a little bit more board game and focused than RPG, but they did have quite a few RPG events there. I sat in on a couple of them, and this is my after action report. So if you looked earlier in this channel's history, you will see one which was my walkthrough of the Beyond the Crystal Cave module from the TSR days. This was a one-shot that the Game Master created specifically for the convention. I specifically want to highlight this one in comparison to the other one is the previous video. Great module, a lot of fun, can't wait to GM it myself, but highlighting the different style of adventure design. The previous one had well-scripted, well-thought-out set pieces, went deep into figuring out the amusement ride that we would go on. This adventure here is more of an example of emergent gameplay. So you hand the situation to the players. There isn't really a lot of prep for this adventure that we played. It's just create a unique, fun little scenario, just a little bit of tidbits so you have the most smidgen of anchoring for your players to start in, but provides the opportunity for the players to create the content themselves moving forward. I know there's a big talk about Game Master burnout, DM burnout, because of all the responsibility that has been shifted onto the Game Master to host, run, everything. This takes a lot type of gameplay that we're going to go over here. Is a great example of you don't need set pieces, just a fun little idea, and how it's able to take a lot of stress off the Game Master, provide a really fun time for the players, and is really a good example of why we might be getting a little bit too far off into the weeds with module play and need to scale back a little bit into more of that sandbox or emergent play style with players. So, on to our unique one-shot adventure. So, no module was behind this. The Game Master, just because I don't have her name, permission to say who it is why I don't give credit here, but if you are the one that ran this at SimCon and see this video, want to give your permission down below so that we can credit you for such a great game session, please do so. I just don't have that ability right now to credit it because I don't have that permission. The scenario we were given is a basic woman is getting married. She is the Duke's daughter, not really into the marriage, hires the PCs to disrupt it. As you can see, one paragraph synopsis of the adventure. I'm willing to bet that's pretty much most of the planning right there that the Game Master did for this session is just in that one paragraph synopsis. The rest all flows naturally. It's good to have, in this type of scenario, likely enemy types, probably written out, some basic hooks. She had a castle that we were in, the rough backstory of the city available, but one paragraph's all you need to create a fun, adventurous romp where the players create their experience. So, the preamble that was given to us in this adventure scenario. We are adventurers. We have the druid. Same guy all weekend playing the druid. This is the same guy in the other video, by the way, who is like, yeah, the mystical wall that grants wishes, but only if you're in dire need, was the one that just like pulls his knife out and sticks it at the paladin's throat. It's like, give us our wish or else. He's there. I am now playing a halfling thief. We had a monk across from me. She ended up being my partner in some chicanery. We had an illusionist, a fighter, and who else? This was all 5th edition, though. Rule set. I'm trying to remember what on earth we were doing. Or who else was at the table. We are in this town. We happen to be passing by because there's a big celebration going on because the Duke's daughter is about to get married in the township, and therefore they're wanting to put on airs and celebrate as we all come together for this scenario. We're in the inn and we get this letter. A courier comes up to us, drops off a letter. We open it up. It says it's from the Duke's daughter. She's not really inclined to get involved in this marriage that's been announced and wants the players to sabotage it. The addition to that is she wants the players to sabotage it without killing anyone, hopefully, but wants to specifically humiliate her father in this situation. So the more humiliating we can make the sabotage that screws up the wedding, the better. As you can see here, this is where the start of emergent gameplay is. Now, foreshadowing, my first thought is, okay, let me check the authenticity of this letter. As far as I could check, the authenticity worked well. It's royal parchment. It's officially royal. It's got the actual royal seal. The Thieves Guild was like, yeah, this looks like her stuff. So she wants us to sabotage her wedding. I'm like, yes. And neither nor thought about it entered my mind no more. So we are in the town. The wedding's happening the next day. It's about late afternoon the day prior. We're like, what do we want to come up with as a strategy to mess up this wedding? And so we are doing a back and forth planning session, trying to figure out, okay, what's the best way to actually accomplish this? So we go over a couple ideas. One guy across the table wants to set up a pie throwing contest that the townsfolk all show up in their finery and then throw pies at the royal couple as they're heading back into town. From a complication standpoint, as a game master, I'd be like, this seems very complicated without much payoff, though it would be funny. It's just the wedding procession enters into town. Think like that scene from Game of Thrones, where the shame walk, but instead everybody's throwing pies. Banana cream pies instead. The other suggestion was to do a running of the bulls in town. So the wedding has occurred, and that was the one other thing that I'm like sitting here going as everybody's like, the wedding's already occurred. Legally speaking, they're married at this point. We kind of need the sabotage to occur a little before the wedding vows are actually given, you know, to actually sabotage the wedding. The next is, let's have a running of the bulls. Let's scour the countryside to get all the cows we could possibly find and just run them through town in a stampede. While many an NPC might get murdered through that strategy, an interesting idea. I was trying to figure out, I was playing a thief with a short bow. I'm thinking, okay, what if I stick like itching powder and some arrows and detonate it in chemical warfare style? Or what if I shoot the groom in the ass with a whoopee cushion arrow that ends up just farting noxious fumes across the wedding ceremony? Some overly complicated strategy like that. Like, none of us were like truly like coming up with, how do we set the scenario up to be as positively humiliating for all parties as possible. Then one guy to my right absolutely nails it as far as the planning process goes. This is a political wedding. We're trying hard not to turn this into the red wedding. But there's going to be a lot of people here that don't like each other, don't care about each other, hate each other's guts, and are just smiling, putting on airs because it's a wedding between two great houses for political convenience and expediency. They probably hate each other's guts. Let's poison the punch bowl. Not with anything that will kill them, but let's just dump in a good old truth sayer potion into this punch bowl. So now everybody hates each other. Everybody dislikes each other, is holding in with every last ounce of their being not to tell the truth about how miserable they are and how much they hate each other's guts. The perfect time to be poisoning all the nobles with a truth serum in their punch bowl. And it's like, magnifique. From a hilarity standpoint, at the moment, it was pretty good as we were like fantasizing, like the various speeches. Like you'll get the drunk groom, the drunk best man that stands up and he'll be like, "Yeah, you bastards are doing it to my sister. I hate all your guts. If it wasn't for this marriage, I would saute you over the French onions, you sons of hamsters," type thing occurring. And so we're laughing it up here. So, truth serum in the punch bowl. Yep, that's going to be our strategy to utterly humiliate all the participants of this wedding. It was funny, but we were kind of missing the like full comedic aspect of it. Somebody else decides, I forget what the chemical is called. It helps induce vomiting as well as like very dangerous diarrhea. And so it was like, yeah, let's not only poison everybody with truth serum, let's also have projectile vomiting and diarrhea all over the place too. I think it's poisoned in this punch bowl. Like, an interesting combination that is sure to cause lots of humiliation for all participants, not just for the father who's running this wedding in this scenario. Mind you, the game master didn't really have to do anything during this period. She's just sitting there, has to answer some of our questions, but us, the players, are taking a good 45 minutes to an hour just discussing all this crap of how to accomplish this. So that's the game plan. We obtained then the truth serum as well as the poison to induce all of those bodily issues. We now need to figure out what's the best path in. So I'm the halfling rogue. It's midnight. I do a little reconnaissance, shimmying on up that wall, hopping a little bit over, stealthily, like sneaking in, MGS style. Hopefully not looking at Meryl's backside, if any of you have seen my channel on SwampDog Livestreams. For some reason, my sneaking has now turned into Egyptian. This is how I imagine sneaking now. I sneak like an Egyptian through here into the castle to figure out how things are going to be set up, a lay of the land, and look at the way in. Get in, guards asleep at the front door, end up pocketing his keys. I had a really bad roll. I almost woke up the guard trying to nick his keys. Never a 1, but like 2s and 4s all night long. I was rolling pretty badly. End up getting in there, look inside, see that the place is all set up, ready to be for the festivities the next day. Wedding reception area outside. You can see where the band is, where all of the ye olden folding chairs are set up for everyone at the reception to hear music as well as eat dainty little snacks and whatnot. So we're here like, okay, we have the lay of the land, we have a mission. What's some ways in? Do we want to just like hide under a cart? Do we need to scale the walls now that we have the keys? Is there a back door maybe that we need to use to get into this place? No, I decide to come up with the most complicated scheme. Let's attack the wine, what do they call sommeliers as they're coming out, steal their uniform, and go in as hoity-toity waiters and support staff. So I'm then grab the monk because I'm a halfling and need somebody with a little bit more muscle than me to actually do the ho-chine to knock him out. We are then stationed while the rest of them have still decided that they're going to do the pies, but lace the pies with the vomiting stuff as well. I don't know why he was so insistent on that we have to have a pie throwing contest that would be allowed inside the castle to do this. But he's baking the pies. We then got the other guys that's still doing the running of the bulls, so they're out in the countryside just like pulling all the cows into town so that they can start a stampede. I'm there with the monk. We're like, okay, we're gonna Shanghai a sommelier and then just go in as waiters, and especially get that fancy like sommelier chain as I start going on about some hoity-toity wine crap. And I say hoity-toity wine crap because I don't know the first thing about wine other than I don't like it. So I don't actually know anything other than from Russia with Love, that apparently white wine and fish is suspicious, but... So, either way, we're trying to nab these sommeliers as they're coming through. So I get one. I walk up running to the guy, shouting as like some manager at them, like, you incompetent swine, these support staff that you've gotten have all... Or no, that wasn't my accent. That was the sommelier accent that I adopted later. I assume it's because I was watching Seth Sarkowski's Traveler series that I ended up sounding like Jeff. As I'm like going, hey, what are you doing? We got here this dude of yours in the alleyway that you know is hunkered over and vomiting his lungs out. This is the type of support staff that you want to put in front of his lord and ladyship as they're having the greatest wedding of their lives, you know? And it was much better. For some reason, recreating that accent is not working so well. It's like a half Schwarzenegger, half Jeff from Seth's channel. But I end up rolling poorly trying to convince all these hoity-toity guys into the alleyway. The monk at this point is just like, okay, she's had it with my chicanery, trying to get them into the alleyway and then chime them asleep. Apparently, I do this motion like to the monk as well during that night. It's like, when we're done, and I give like this symbol. And she's like, you want me to kill him? And I'm like, no, that's this symbol. He's chopped the head off. I want you to hucha, like Vulcan neck pinch or like karate chop them into unconsciousness. What to do? Don't kill them, please. She's had it, so she just huchas the guy. Or attempts to, but misses, and then the guy is completely oblivious to what's going on and just goes off. So we tried, like, get him into the alleyway, which didn't work. We tried chide him, that didn't work, and he just walks off. Completely oblivious that we tried to kidnap him to steal his sommelier uniform. Then I forget how it worked. They're still doing their chicanery. I and the monk try again at a separate sommelier, and I roll a nat 20 on convincing them about how miserable their employees are doing and that they need an expert to take charge. And I roll a nat 20 on that, and the sommelier is like, oh my god, you're right, I truly don't know anything about wine. Here's my entire uniform, my sommelier's chain. I will go home in shame for having shamed my family and for the Duke's wedding, been unable to provide them such an amazing sommelier experience. Like, wow, I'll take it. This guy's uniform and everything. The monk and I don it. and then head into the castle. Actually, I take that back. One of the things the other group had been doing as well is getting copies of the invitation and everything done as well, since we had the royal seal, and so we had the royal seal, the official letterhead from the Duke on that letter asking us to sabotage the whole thing, use that to fake invitations. With the Thieves Guild, they showed up, we reunited, and just waltzed in as I'm putting on airs about wine stuff and that the filthy peasantry would never understand, that only a cultured sommelier such as myself could ever truly understand the fineries about wine. And we just waltz on into the castle. From there, we end up actually splitting the party up. Now, I know technically not supposed to split the party up. That's really more of dungeoneering when you're worried about ambushes. You don't want to reduce the numbers when you can get ambushed. Here, yes, we're splitting up. Yes, that makes us individually less combat effective. But we kind of want to just get in, do our damage, and get out. We really don't want to get into a combat situation here. So we end up splitting our ways. We got one group with the truth serum and the... I'm blanking out on what it's called. It would have been around ye olden times, and I'm sure that I've seen it, that it's supposed to help induce vomiting and projectile vomiting and diarrhea as well. I'll just call it the shit poison. We're far enough in. YouTube should be fine with me cursing at this point. So they're off to find all the punch bowls to spike with true serum and shit poison. They also decide, hey, there's this entire reception area. Let's mess around with the folding chairs so that none of them work, as well as let's lace the mouthpieces of all of the brass instruments for the band with this stuff as well. So now they have the entirety of the band, their instruments covered in this stuff, and particularly making sure it was well oiled, the brass instruments, in the hopes that when the vomiting starts into the brass instruments, we get a really nice display going. That image is not... It should be plenty humiliating a wedding for whoever has to suffer through this mess. So we've laced all the instruments, spiked all the punch bowls, also sprinkled some of it on the wedding cake as well. I'm standing here going, you know what? We were promised. We've already been given an upfront payment to do this job. One of the things I forgot to mention, she had also said that as part of sabotaging her wedding, she'll pay us on the back end as well. I'm sitting here going, we've got projectile vomiting, we've got truth serum spiked punch everywhere. It's going to be a nasty day. Let me actually find the lady to warn her about this so she doesn't partake in this as well, thus A, exposing the fact that she hired us to screw over the wedding, because think Liar Liar is with Jim Carrey is what we're worried about, just randomly handing out truth facts with the truth serum that we spiked the punch bowl with, that we kind of don't want her just randomly burning out. Yeah, she hired us, and our association is exposed with this travesty that we're causing. And as well as the fact that scared that, hey, if she then partakes in this stuff, even if she doesn't expose us, I'm sure she's not going to be too inclined to pay us the remainder that she owes once she has to go through the inconvenience of being so incontinent right now. I'm like, okay, Monk, you and me, we're going upstairs, we're finding the lady. taking care of the situation, notifying her of what we're doing, because we don't want this to blow up in our face. So, Monk and I head upstairs to do it while everybody else is continued on with their chicanery. The monk and I finally get to the ladies' chambers. We followed the handmaidens with wedding dress supplies to this room. Now, at this point, I've been the one trying to convince the monk to get a little bit more aggressive with NPCs. You know, the knocking them out, punching them senseless, and doing things. I'm trying to sneak into the room with a bottle of wine that I'm holding as the sommelier. My idea is to complain about the lackluster quality of it to the ladyship, as my excuse to be in the room to tell her about what we're doing. The monk doesn't even let me get through that far. He's like, nope, we're just going to assault the guard, completely out of character, just try to murder him on the spot. I'm like, what? I'm trying to sneak. This whole time, she'd be getting on me for being somewhat confronting with the opposition. Now she's like, nope, I'm just going to murder the guard right there and allow us in. Okay. Unfortunately, that didn't work so well. That was a fail. I rolled pretty good, though, and was able to do a sneak attack, and was able to effectively, like, backstab the guy, you know, like World War II commando style, the guard. We put him in an alcove out of the way so he wouldn't end up bothering us again. We get into the room then, and we see the ladyship, the maids of honor and whatnot. I come up with an excuse of, no, I must talk to her ladyship about the wine. It is a crime, what we are putting forth. Only a fair maiden such as yourself could possibly understand the fineries of what I'm to discuss. You peasants, get out, get out! Like Hollywood director mentality of just all the extras being like, begone, foul extras, begone, foul peasants, out! Only us cultured sommeliers and truly appreciative of fine wine may continue this conversation, which ends up succeeding. And so I then start having the conversation with her ladyship. Like, Your Majesty, thank you for hiring us for this today for your wedding. And she's like, okay. The game master, like, highlighting, like, she's kind of, like, nodding along. I'm like, yes, you had asked us to help bring festivities to your wedding. And she's like, okay, like, who's this wacko that just suddenly starts shouting about fine wine and peasants, and now going on about festivities? And I let her know, I just let her know we kind of added a little extra to the punch. And she's like, what extra? Well, you had asked that we get involved to help, you said, make this event memorable, but you weren't quite inclined to go forth with the wedding. And then she went, no, what are you talking about? I wanted the wedding to go forth. And I'm like, oh shit, we got had. Even though I did my due diligence, I'm like, crap, she wasn't the one that sent this letter. We are now sabotaging it, and she didn't ask us to. What do you mean, did the punch? Well, you said that you were scared that your fiancé wouldn't go through with it, and so you had hired us to help make sure that it would happen, and we helped put a few extras into the punch that would be inclined to help your ladyship secure your husband's attentions that evening, and would be wanting to engage with you all night long and would not have any fear anymore of backing out. And she's like, oh, right, yeah, looking forward to it, can't wait to get married, get the husband-to-be, and thank you for taking care of that so we can continue on forth with the wedding. And I'm like, in my head, screaming, abort, abort, abort. Everyone else now has already, though, done their thing, like poisoning everything, getting the bulls ready, the pie throwing. And it's obvious this woman did not send us the request to sabotage the wedding. We've done that. Okay, Monk, you and me, we're getting out of here ASAP. GTFO. So we get out there. We're kind of like surreptitiously signaling everybody, like, regroup, get out of here, get out of here, get out of here. And so we head out, and everybody's like excited of, oh yeah, man, she's gonna pay us good for ruining a wedding. And I gotta bring it. We kind of may have wrecked a wedding that she wasn't actually the one wanting us to wreck it. We're like, ah, yes, the sudden but inevitable betrayal we were all waiting for in this situation. So this is where it gets a little bit ridiculous because, yeah, this is ridiculous. That hasn't been ridiculous so far. So thinking of like the royal wedding when what's her name got married to the prince. I don't watch these things. I don't care about royals. We kind of fought a war here in America, did not have to put up with royal BS, so I kind of don't pay attention to what the hell's going on with the royal family. But I'm figuring that, like, equivalent, there would have been, like, all the TVs in the nation were on it. Whether you go into a sports bar, a dive, or higher class place, any TV was on the royal wedding. And so we're like, okay, we know we're kind of getting backstabbed, but we don't want to quite leave town, because leaving town immediately before this happens, they keep records of who's going in and out of town. They'll likely know we did it, so kind of don't want our hands on the paperwork so close. We'll just stay low, hide in town, but we want to enjoy our handiwork. So we go into Ye Olden Sports Bar, where they've got all the screens up on the walls, as we go from international football to the royal wedding. And the game master has a hard time just explaining the absolute travesty that ensues from all the projectile this and the truth serum. And we successfully ruined the wedding. Not bad for like 30 minutes of GM prep work. At this point, we had been entertained for like 2.5 hours. We still had about 45 minutes to an hour left to the session. And so we're like, okay, we know this is entirely against our better judgment. We know this is entirely not what we should be doing. If these were actual persistent characters, now that this is done, we've had our fun, we should be figuring out how to get out of town. We still got an hour to kill. We'll never see these characters again. We had our fun. Now let's try to figure out who actually set us up. Because we figure, hey, at this point, there's no incentive for us to get paid anymore. They'll likely turn us over to the town guard ASAP. Let's nab the bastard and get it. Be like, pretend that we had no clue about the destroying the wedding part, but be like, hey, here's the body of who actually screwed up the wedding for you, as well as all the evidence. We're heroes. Give us money for helping uncover the traitor. Again, if this had been a persistent game session, no one would have gone this far, because none of us would have cared. But we had an hour to kill, so we went well outside of normal gaming lines to be like, yep, let's just explore as much as we can and fill in that last hour. So we take the letter down to the Thieves Guild again. I'm like, dudes, you told us the first time this is legit. I can definitively say this is not legit. And they're like, oh, it looks legit to us. Like, I'm like, great, the Thieves Guild is incompetent. So at this point, the town guard are now searching everyone, looking for traces of truth serum or the vomit poison, the vomit rocket stuff. The castle's on lockdown, partially because there aren't enough guards in functioning condition to actually stand watch. People are still mad at each other, drunk, telling the truth, and vomiting all over the place. We sneak into the back of the castle. We're like, okay, let's figure out what here. while we were in here, we got a couple suspects. The Thieves Guild gave us rumors to investigate that the accountant might have been on it. I forgot what his reason was. There's the Vizier. Of course, we're thinking it's always the Vizier. Never trust a Vizier. Like, at this point, Vizier should just be an outlawed term, because every time you find one, you know they're the villain in this scenario. Which, side note, if you ever have some time, there's a musical on YouTube called Twisted. It's an off-Broadway musical. It's Aladdin, but from Jafar's point of view, if he's actually the good guy and the rest of the world is the villains, which is actually pretty good. And I do recommend actually watching it if you get the chance. But so that was the Vizier, and then we found out from the Thieves Guild, there's the rumor that the lady of the house and one of her handmaidens are having something of a tryst. And so our mind, it's not the accountant. It's got to either be the Vizier or the handmaiden somehow. So it's got to be one of those two that we got to investigate. Of course, then, because we want to just enjoy watching the nobles suffer, we decide, hey, let's go visit the chambers first and confront the handmaiden to at least get our money and then leave. So we're sneaking up to the chambers, her ladyship's room. We get there. There's no guard on the outside of the door, but we can hear obvious shouting from inside of it. And we're like, okay, did somebody find out? So we're holding our ears up to the door, just listening in as we find that the Duke and the opposing noble family are in the room, yelling at each other, upset at each other for having, for the disastrous wedding that occurred, as they're also still a little bit high on truth serum, which isn't helping any drunk and still sick from all the vomiting. As they're at each other, and we're like trying to figure, okay, what's the best way to take advantage of the situation that gets us money? And then the guy to my right, who's the one who suggested the truth serum to begin with, he's like, guys, you trust me? We're like, yeah, okay, sure. And it's like, got an idea. Takes the letter that we got that started this whole chicanery, just barges into, he's still wearing a waiter's uniform that he had snagged from earlier, barges into the room. We're like, dude, what the fuck are you doing? Hands the letter to the Duke, bows, and it's like, your lordship, we found this in the servants' quarters. They believe it is evidence of whoever perpetrated this dastardly plot and wanted to inform you right away. Bows, and then exit stage left. So, and we're hanging out the door. We're like, why the hell did you bust in? But it's like, okay, now we'll get to see some more fireworks fly as they get the letter. They are now, like, really, like, getting at each other now over this, as the ladyship is like, I'm going to murder my handmaiden, Maria, or whatever. And so it's sort of, like, peeking into the door because it's been left open at the time, just, like, smiling as the situation dives further downhill. Unfortunately, we then notice, wait a minute, the other family, not the family that's the Duke and his daughter of this mess, but the other family suddenly start detransitioning from human form, and we're like, oh crap, these are doppelgangers, the supposed wedding family. And we're having a quick fight, like, do we want to get involved and fight with doppelgangers, or do we just want to, the guy to my right who's like, nah, man, let's not get involved with the doppelgangers. They'll murder the royal family while everything's going down within the castle walls. We'll sneak on down to the treasury, just load up on all the family jewels and hightail it out of there. Very pro-gamer move. We're like, yeah, the problem is it's guarded. Even if the alarm goes off, there'll probably be guards there. That's going to involve a lot of combat. The doppelgangers don't really know that we're here. Like, let's just yell Leroy Jenkins and get then a reward legitimately from the Duke and his daughter. So we're like, yeah, between sneaking in, killing the guards, robbing the treasury, and just getting like in their good graces, let's just yell Leroy Jenkins. So we go, Leroy Jenkins! And start being like murder stabbing the doppelgangers as quickly as possible. Get rid of all of them. The Duke, his daughter, wife, and other family members are hiding behind the furniture. They come out looking at us, standing triumphantly in our bloodied yet majestic poses, having slayed them horrific doppelganger scum. And they're like, oh, thank you so much. We don't know who the hell you are, but we owe you our lives and deserve to reward you. And I take over, and I don't know why I did this, but I said, my lords and ladies, it is our pleasure for helping you. We heard of this dastardly scheme, that adventure that someone had been hired to poison and disrupt your wonderful wedding day. Upon hearing this, we, such loyal followers of the crown, could not stand idly by as your lord and ladyship had been humiliated by these cads. So we, the Pinkertons, did investigate to help you in your moment of need. And I'm still not sure why I wanted to call us the Pinkertons. Like, you know, those evil a-holes that, like, just show up at people's doors, steal all the magic cards because WotC shipping screwed up. The guys that kind of have a reputation for murder at some pretty bad union strikes back in the 1800s. The guys that one of the few companies, like, specifically named and banned by Congress from getting government contracts because they had it so far up to here with them. You know, those jackasses, the Pinkertons, that no sane person should ever want to participate in that organization. Why G4 Security or G4S still maintains the name the Pinkertons is beyond me. I'm like, it's like these guys that talk about the revision of history when they go like, nobody wants to have authentic Indian symbols outside Buddhist temple or holy symbols outside Buddhist temples anymore. And it's like, you know, we kind of had some issues with some guys in Germany in the 40s that kind of made us put the kibosh on ever wanting to see that symbolism again. I mean, yeah, it does predate them, but still the wounds are kind of fresh. It's the same thing with Pinkertons. It's like one of those, yeah, technically the modern Pinkertons aren't the same that engaged in murder and kidnapping and theft and all kinds of other issues that pissed Congress off so badly that they were banned by name in a law, congressional law. But it's one of those things like, why do you keep this name around? You are so better off not having Pinkertons on your security staff, WotC. My little anti-WotC dig in here. And so I'm like, why the hell did I call us Pinkertons? Maybe it's just because just associate all that, the same thing. Like the Pinkertons murdered, kidnapped, extorted. Pinkertons in this scenario, murdered, poisoned, projectile vomiting. I mean, it's the same level, I guess, of chicanery. So maybe it made sense calling the Pinkertons. I don't know. But so we are now heroes, get our grand reward from the Duke. So we got paid both to cause the mess and paid for fixing the mess. And that was our fantasy one-shot adventure. This was definitely more comedy orientated, lots of fun. From a setup perspective, why you should have, and highlighted here, there's no overarching module, hours of back-end planning. It's 30-40 minutes of a couple pieces of world building to build it, and then we, the players, did most of the work. We're discussing this whole time. How do we make this as miserable a situation as possible for the Duke? How can we humiliate them even further? We're just talking with each other, having fun, like making a big mess of things. Like, let's really like make this a big mess, you know, let's have fun here. And it was about 70% driven by the player actions, that the game master didn't need to actually spend all this time building this adventure. Really fun, really exciting adventure that I would like to run a variation of, I think, in future. A little bit more planning to it, and even though I'm like talking about emergent gameplay, making a few alterations here and there for a little bit better prep for the scenario. But ultimately, a lot of fun, well-run event. Really enjoyed it. Had a lot of had great time talking with all of them. Got numbers, trying to set up a D&D group with them as well. So because I've had a hard time getting with my players, just schedules aren't aligning. Probably mostly because my schedule has sucked so badly. But get a new group going, and a great opportunity to really just have fun with them. This is what role playing is: 3-4 hours of just having fun and chicanery, as we're just figuring out, hey, sitting around fantasizing, how can we ruin a royal wedding? And that was it, as we succeeded in defeating the doppelgangers, and our players go off into the sunset to get involved in union busting later, I guess. We use the Pinkertons. But yeah, just an easy example of create a small self-contained plot. Don't go elaborate. Throw the scenario at your players and just watch as they create the game around them. If there had been a whole scenario behind this, it would have told us like the best ways to poison it, and create, honestly, quite limiting examples of like how to handle this entire situation. We were freeform. Like, I disagree with the pie throwing attempt and the running of the bulls mess, but player driven. We created in town, get it ready, and I'm like, yep, fine by me. But yeah, that was my technically the third event at SimCon for RPG wise. I do also highlight why Dungeons and Dragons, I think we need to move away from combat. There needs to have an element of combat. It can devolve into it, but I like that storytelling and environmental scenarioism better, because when you look at the first scenario that we did, which was the Beyond the Crystal Cave, which was it was theme park, but very narrative focused, and this, which was sandbox and very narrative focused and player driven content, had a lot of fun, really engaging, diverse set of experiences and encounters. We had a little combat, a little mystery, a little exploration, a little stealth, a little bit of everything that really like made it feel engaging and realistic and adventurous for us to participate in, versus the second scenario that I'm not even doing a video on here ended up being just we get summoned out of time, let's kill the devil and then move on, and it just devolved into just turns upon turns upon turns of rolling for combat, just figure it out as like, I'm a man, as I use my monk to try to kill the devil. And it was nice engaging with people in that scenario, but it just lacked the type of narrative fun and focus that the earlier theme park and the emergent play style did. So, and keeping it specifically not combat focused. So this highlights again, move your characters away from just combat. Have it as an element there, but stop rewarding it. Stop having XP tied to combat. Either have certain checkpoints in the adventure where XP comes in. I'm not a fan of it. Or go back to the old gold is XP. So that way granted, you turn them all into thieves and looters, but then you're engaging outside of combat as the primary driver of your scenario. I think that's been my biggest personal takeaway from this, and as well as another helping reassure the value of emergent gameplay there. So, but let me know your thoughts in the comments down below if you're still around. What did you think of this adventure? What did you think of my storytelling? Was it as funny hearing about the situation as it was for me remembering the chicanery we got up to in the situation? Did you enjoy my Egyptian sneaking? So I will now like sneak like this everywhere. So let me know your thoughts. And also if RPG story time is a format you'd like to continue. I would kind of like this to ultimately, if I do, I want it to be the level of like Seth Sarkowski's RPG walkthrough, recanting, where I get some like character driven stuff in there to reenact certain scenes is what I would like to do. I kind of need your support. Normally I don't ask about this, but if you would like to sign up for channel memberships where you get early access to the video, at the very least, just subscribe and let other people know about this, because if I got a job that it's like justifying taking the time off because I get paid commission to do this means then I'm losing money there. So to at least help like bring some money in on this side to justify like taking working time away from my day job so that I can get better and nicer content for you guys would be nice. Getting like some acting skits in there, some NPCs as we reenact certain things of the scenario. But would definitely like to go that route moving forward. And if it becomes available, then you'll be the first to know. So thank you for watching. I will see you all the next time. And remember to play more games. May all your rolls be 20s. Business Buchaya, and just have a fun day. Peace out.